What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So for today, I wanted to talk about 3 tips on how not to blow your Terminator up. We all know how strong, these rotating assemblies are, the pistons, the rods, the crank, how good of a job the SVT team did building this. It's not common, especially for almost a 20-year-old car. It's not common for, an engine to come out and just be so easily capable of hitting 800, 900, 1,000, even more on the stock rotating assembly. So they really did such a knockout job. But with that being said, if you're not careful for these 3 things, you are as likely, if not more, to blow your Terminator up at 500 horsepower as you are at 1,000 or close to 1,000 horsepower. It's worth noting, to veteran, Cobra owners out there, you might, if you found this video, you're like, oh, this is common sense. And, that might be, but, there's new Cobra owners every day. And, they might not be aware of these things, some of the, flaws with the car. And if I can stop even one person from melting, a piston, then this video was worth it to me. So stay tuned, guys. I hope you like it. All right, guys. So for the first tip on how not to blow your Cobra up, definitely going to be your intercooler pump. Now, maybe you have the factory tank. This goes for whatever tank you have. It's a really good idea. Look, our cars are 17, 18 years old now, and these electronics can just fail. It is a really good idea every now and then, start your car up, let it get warm, and come take the cap off your intercooler tank, and just make sure you see the fluid spinning. Our cars are notorious for the intercooler pump, which is only like 120 bucks. They seize up over time, and your engine is going to have incredibly high charge temps. And if you drive around, start making some pulls with a seized intercooler pump, I promise you, you could melt a piston. And, it's just funny. You're just as likely to melt a piston at 500 horsepower with this car as you are at 1,000 horsepower if you don't have your intercooler pump working. I actually have an upgraded Jabsco pump. I honestly don't know if I'd recommend it. Normally people are doing the trunk tanks now, and I probably would have went with the trunk tank had they been around at the time, but they weren't super popular like 10 years ago, or at least to my knowledge they weren't. So I went with this. It works great for me, but guys, like I said, make sure your alternator pump is working. And for the second tip on how not to blow your Cobra up is the dreaded alternator. And the same thing with the intercooler pump. These are not super expensive parts, but if your alternator dies, you are just as likely to blow your Terminator up at 500 horsepower as you are if you're making close to 1,000. If you're tuned and you're making, 13.5 volts, 14 volts to your fuel pumps, later on your alternator dies and you're only making 9 or 10 volts at full throttle, you're going to see an extreme lean out condition, and you can very easily melt a piston because of that. So to demonstrate, this is actually a 6G, what is called a 6G alternator. This is a brand new alternator. This is an AutoZone alternator, and you might ask, hey, why is it brand new? Well, it's brand new because they do offer a lifetime warranty, and the one that I bought broke within 6 days. So in my alternator, quest for alternator knowledge, I actually found KMJ. Kenneth is a great guy. This is his Titan alternator design. And the first thing you might notice is the size difference. This is the 6G. This is the 3G. And sometimes, guys, bigger is just better. Because there's a larger sweep area, essentially you can work this alternator at a lower speed and still get more amperage out of it. What these are prone to is the regulator's in a bad spot, they overheat, they basically melt from the inside out. Where the larger size, because you have to work it, more easily, these have, from what I've seen and what Kenneth has told me, are a more reliable alternator. I actually have this as a spare. When the alternator in my car maybe eventually goes, I got this one as a spare. If you guys are interested, these are available at kmjalts.com. I will put a link down below for you guys to get it. They are very reasonably priced, and I believe they do come with a lifetime warranty, so it's kind of really hard to go wrong. So I'll pause it right here for a second, guys. You can see that on the bottom gauge, the top parameter, it says battery. And you can see that it's under 12. Now, would that blow the engine up first pull? No, probably not. But if you continue to drive the car around while creating that amount of voltage, you are setting yourself up for a bad day. And I'm just going to give a quick shout out here. If you guys haven't read the Iron Fist Lead Foot book, this book is great. We're talking about don't let a $100 part, melt your engine. Well, possibly the coolest fact, and I got the rod right here, it talks about the factory rods from Ford cost $6 each. And the Manley rods, which they ended up building the engine with, are $56 each. And, thankfully to them, and they made these decisions, don't let a cheap part, well, granted they weren't cheap, they're 9 times as much money, don't let cheap parts blow your Cobra up. And now for the third and final top tip to not blow your Terminator up. It is avoiding long, extended, wide open throttle pulls in 5th and 6th gear. And I'll paint a picture for you, a worst case scenario, as you might say. Let's say, your intercooler pump, it's not working, or it's intermittent, and that's gonna lead to a lot of heat soak. Let's say your alternator, well, it's not totally failed yet, but it's failing. You're only getting 11.8 volts at wide open throttle. And let's say, you're a ported Eaton car, pulley to the moon, lower pulley up, the tiniest upper pulley, you're pushing it, and, you're doing a highway pull. You start in 2nd, 3rd, 4th. It's already getting hot because the intercooler pump's not really working right. It's probably lean because your fuel pumps aren't getting the right voltage. And you go for 5th. Well, 5th and 6th gear are in overdrive, so you're really working the engine even harder. Heat is building up. And, our cars, while sexy, may not be the most aerodynamic car in the world. So, you're hitting 140 in Mexico, and you want to hit 160, 165, 170. Well, it's going to cost you a piston. And it's sad to see because honestly, I think I see more cars in the 500 range that end up hurting their motor than the bigger power cars. And it's because of those few small things that if you're not aware about, or you kind of don't keep checking up on them, it can and will cost you a piston. So that's about it, guys. I hope you enjoy. It's I think 22 degrees outside and it might snow tonight, so I kind of got to make a different type of video. I hope you guys enjoy this type of stuff. If you have any ideas or what you'd like me to talk about on future videos, leave it in the comments. I'll get to it. I'll see what I can do. Take care, guys, and stay healthy.